The French Revolution was a period of time in France when the people overthrew the monarchy and took control of the government. The French Revolution lasted 10 years from 1789 to 1799. It's called the Estates General. The French Revolution started because of King Louis. France was losing a plethora of money and was on the verge of bankruptcy. The reason why they were in this state is because King Louis spent a lot of money. King Louis lavishly spent money, and during the American Revolution, France gave a generous contribution. This series of events led up to the French monarch convening to the Estates General to order a new land tax levy, which the king hoped would ease his difficulty. The Estates General consisted of the clergy, the middle class, and the lower class citizens. Tennis Court Oath. On June 17, 1789, the Third Estate, led by Henri Gabriel Riquet, began to call themselves the National Assembly. On the morning of June 20th, the deputies were shocked to discover that the chamber door was locked and guarded by soldiers. Immediately fearing the worst and anxious that a royal attack by King Louis was imminent, the deputies congregated in a nearby indoor tennis court where they took a solemn collective oath not to separate and to reassemble wherever circumstances require until the constitution of the kingdom is established. Storming of the Bastille. The Bastille is a French prison which is located in Paris, France. On the afternoon of July 14th, 1789, the Bastille was stormed by an angry and aggressive mob. The Bastille, during the French Revolution, was a symbol of power and the monarchy's dictatorial rule. The Bastille only held 7 prisoners at the time, but the mob didn't come for them. They came for the huge ammunition storages that were kept in the prison. The governor wasn't complying with the mob, so after a violent battle, the mob seized control of the Bastille, and the governor was killed with his head put on a spike for everyone to see. March on Versailles. The women set out on a march from Paris to Versailles in the hopes to get bread, for it was too expensive for them to buy. They were armed with pitchforks and picks and muskets. To the beat of a drum, the women chanted, "Bread, bread," for despite the fertile French soil, the populace of Paris were starving while the king and Marie Antoinette continued to feast at their salutations country's Gaffe. The royal family attempts to flee. The royal family attempted to flee Paris. King Louis had realized that things were becoming far too dangerous for his family because of the revolution. When they were captured, the trust of the revolutionary government in them faded completely, and the revolutionary government became hostile towards the royal family. Champ de Mars Massacre. Champ de Mars Massacre was an event when the citizens of France rallied against the decision of the National Constituent Assembly that King Louis was still the king, even though he was under a constitution. This ended in a massacre. 2 days after Champ de Mars Massacre, the National Constituent Assembly issued a decree that King Louis would remain king under a constitutional monarchy. On November 9th and 10th of 1799, the coup d'etat overthrew the system of government under the Directory of France and substituted the consulate, making way for the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte. This event is often viewed as the effective end of the French Revolution. King Louis, the King of France, was executed for treason by the National Convention. He and his queen, Marie Antoinette, were executed in 1793. He was summoned by the Estates General but did not grant the reforms that were demanded, and revolution followed, leading to his execution. After the death of King Louis in 1793 was when the Reign of Terror began. The first significant death that would occur would be his wife, Marie Antoinette. The very famous murder weapon that came out of the Reign of Terror was the guillotine, which would cause all those who were ordered to be executed to kneel and hold their arms away from their side while one single blade would strike and behead them. It By the end of the Reign of Terror, across France, 30,000 people had died due to the guillotine. A coup d'etat is a sudden, violent overthrow of an existing government by a small group. The most successful example in the French Revolution was Napoleon Bonaparte himself. According to Sartoria Britannica, these key events were also what helped lead to the end of the French Revolution.